All politics, in my worldview, revolves around the distribution of resources and the distribution of power.
Everybody's, and I mean everybody's, favorite Twitch comrade, Hasan Piker, the man whose entire career has essentially been about radicalizing 14-year-olds in their basements. Or, you know what? I don't even like the basement meme as a joke. Like, he basically is, his purpose is to enrich himself off of thousands of other people who own nothing, who have no property, who have no home. He farms their rage and farms their sadness and farms their pliability and turns them into little Terrys. That's who Hasan Piker is. And he has been given no off-ramp by his own rhetoric. Essentially, Hasan Piker says crazier and crazier, more and more radical things every month because it's the only way that he can actually maintain his radical audience. He has no off-ramp. He has no chance. And now he's going on a press tour. And of course, the press will interview and give this guy a platform any chance they get. Any chance you get to talk about how amazing this guy is who's talking, America's youth into throwing their life away for political attacks and different things like that. The mainstream media loves that. And you see this. Hasan did a podcast with the New York Times, Ross Douthat, I don't know who that is, where they talked about his role in political radicalization and violence. In this segment, the New York Times asks Hasan what he meant by saying, quote, redirect violence. Also, asked him if he would be okay with the Beverly Hills City Council voting to expropriate his massive, lavish, undeserved wealth and redistribute it to the people. This is an incredibly great question because Hasan Piker is a champagne socialist. He grew up with wealth. He's rich now. He's always been rich. His father was, I believe, a billionaire. Correct me if I'm wrong. And this man has never gone without. This man has never worked multiple jobs to pay rent. This man has never worked 3 jobs. This man has never had to float a check to make sure he could pay his rent or pay his electric bill or pay the internet bill. This is something I did basically until I was 27 years old. But Hasan Piker, who grew up with a billionaire father, multimillionaire father at minimum, and then used nepotism with his uncle Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, he's your perfect example of a communist. The man has never struggled in his life, not even for 1 second. But he says he's far more focused on short-term gains, such as universal health care, and he doesn't want to answer the future hypothetical. Here's what's interesting. He says, when redirecting that, and when redirecting the same way would be that structural, so the socialist society does not go out and take people's lives. Hasan Piker says, no, yeah. Wait, which is it? We know communists kill people. We know that they are the deadliest political belief in American history. New York Times, though that has happened in some socialist societies in the past, I should note. Hasan Piker, well, of course. Well, wait a minute. Hasan Piker said socialists just don't go out and shoot people. And then he said, well, yeah, they do. New York Times, you live in LA, right? Hasan Piker, yes. So it goes to Beverly Hills or something. And they say, today, the city council, we've renamed it as the People's Collective or something. And they voted to expropriate your lavish, undeserved wealth and return your homes to the people. And that's backed up by the police. Right? That's backed up by the police. Now what do? So Hasan Piker, when asked to stand by his own morals, so when it's backed by police and it's violent, but it's not shooting people up against the wall. Is that what you mean? This kind of redirection? New York Times, people in Beverly Hills, yes. Hasan Piker, when asked again to see if he will allow his wealth to be redistributed, this is so far in the future for even someone like myself that I don't see the necessity of arguing about how it would work, because I'm more invested, especially in the short term, in getting socialized medicine, getting universal health care, getting free schooling. I want to be very clear. So when the New York Times pressed Hasan Piker on his communist ideals and said, hey, do you believe in communism when it means that they're going to take your wealth? Hasan Piker says no. That's what Hasan Piker says. The current system, as you said, uses violence. And yeah, all political systems are about a monopoly to force in the end. But you use the phrase redirect violence. What do you mean? Well, first of all, I abhor violence. Let's start there. Well, he doesn't, because he said, let the streets run red with the red capitalist blood, and that people should be gutting conservatives, and people should be going and taking out Rick Scott, and people should be, I mean, he's got dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of calls for physical attacks. And again, when he is asked specifically, would you give up your wealth to have redistributed wealth? He says no. That's what Hasan Piker says. And of course, then we have, look at this take too. This guy is such a fraud. He's as fraudulent as Candace Owens is, in my opinion.
All politics, in my worldview, revolves around the distribution of resources and the distribution of power. And a big part of that component is, of course, violence as well. Revolutionary violence, for example.
Sure.
And it just simply means like who gets to do the violence and who gets to be on the receiving end of that violence that we have normalized. Because the system...
I haven't normalized that. Have you guys normalized that? I definitely haven't normalized that. I don't think it's okay. I don't think it was okay when Tyler Robinson allegedly took Charlie Kirk's life. I don't think it's okay when Antifa, attacks people, burns down buildings. I don't think it's okay. But, all these attacks are coming exclusively from the left wing. So they all pretend, they pretend like, hey, we're not down for violence. Oh, really? It seems like you are. They always do this like tongue-in-cheek thing where like, I'm against violence, but be violent. That's what this loser does. That's why he's afraid to leave his house. He's afraid to leave his house, just so you know. He's afraid to leave his house.
Systems that we exist under are inherently violent. All political systems are.
I've never experienced violence because of political systems. Now, a leftist, an Antifa guy, did physically attack me, and then I took him to court and took every penny he had because I am not a heathen. But I don't feel that way.
It's just more so about redirecting that.
Oh.
And I know violence is such a scary concept in this when we're discussing in this way, but we're talking.
I'm not scared of it. I see it every day. I know that's what Hasan Piker wants. I know this is the reality, that he wants violence, right? He LARPs on it. He jerks off to it. There's no question about it. He's essentially the guy that sits in the cuck chair in the hotel and watches Antifa do their violence. That's who this guy is. He's a coward. He's a puss bag. He doesn't even have the strength of his own convictions. When asked very simple, pointed questions on will you redistribute the wealth of your multi-million-dollar mansion, he says no.
About it in an academic context. But basically, the idea is that instead of having a system that currently benefits the very few, I want a system that benefits as many people as possible. That has more, like I said,
again, Hasan Piker is a multi-millionaire. He makes $5 to $10 million a year. Just so everyone always remembers that.
Egalitarian outcomes.
And the current system, as you said, uses violence. And yeah, all political systems are about the monopoly of force in the end, right? But you use the phrase redirect violence. What does it mean to say we need to redirect violence?
I mean, first of all, I abhor violence. Let's just...
Wrong. I'm not even going to pull up the montage of him laughing about and or inciting it, because everyone's seen those before. You know, take the landlords' lives. We need to be eviscerating Republicans, letting their intestines run out on the floor. We need to take out Rick Scott. America deserved 9/11. I mean, everyone's heard his greatest hits of calling for violence. So he does not abhor it. He jerks off to it.
Start there, right? But violence in this abstract concept would be equivalent to the structural violence of poverty, for example. So when I'm talking about violence, I want to make it very clear. I'm not talking like go out, take up arms, and like start shooting people, right?
No, that is what he means. That's what he means. Just so everyone's clear, this guy with his like lame, weak beard and his coiffed hair, his $700 haircut, okay, that is what he means, in my opinion.
I'm talking about the structural violence of poverty. Redirecting that in the same way would be the structural violence of equity. Right.
Because so we're just using the word violence to mean other words. You see this article, Hasan Piker, the hype man for leftist political violence. He is. This is who this guy is. And he just, every time he's asked to say, hey, can you stand by the things that you've said? He doesn't. When asked, would you give up your multi-million-dollar mansion? He says no. When he says, I abhor violence, I could pull up a dozen clips of Hasan Piker not only cheering for it, but literally being aroused by it, especially when it happens to Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk or Rick Scott or 5,000 innocent American lives on 9/11 and tens of thousands of more after that, or when it happened to even Eye Patch McCain. This is a guy that it is his fetish that people that disagree with him politically are hurt. And this guy does not, he has no off-ramp, and I feel bad for him. I feel scared for him because his audience will turn on him, and eventually he's going to have to get more and more radical, more and more violent, more and more insane, and it's going to get him banned. That's the best case scenario for him. I don't want him banned. I want these people out in the public so I can see what they're saying. But I believe that he is facing a far more dire outcome if he doesn't find an off-ramp. And I just don't see one the way he's going. And he's also a huge puss bag who won't do what he's asking his legions of 14-year-old fans to do. And they're too stupid to see the difference.